This video is going to be a guide on Loki, the god of mischief. I'm first going to go over some abilities and how to use them. If you like to skip this, however, you can skip it with the timestamp right here. However, if you really want to main Loki, I would recommend staying with this even if you already know it, just in case you've missed something. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Loki's primary fire shoots out a small projectile that deals damage and heals allies. This projectile also emits a small AoE after it hits, meaning that if allies are close by, they will get healed, or if enemies are close by, they will take damage. Loki's primary fire is one of the best against melee characters, meaning that if someone is meleeing your teammates, you can heal them and at the same time deal a little bit of damage against the enemy. Now, a good Loki player is never alone. He will always have some of his clones with him. Your Loki clones will deal the exact same damage to enemies and the exact same healing to allies as yourself. Now, there are two ways to pop out your clones. One is to pop a clone with your main ability, which allows you to put a clone in any location that you see fit. And your second ability allows you to turn invisible and at the same time leave a clone exactly where you just were. This can really confuse some enemies, especially while you do this in mid-air. These Loki clones will, by the way, also take damage, meaning that you can actually use them as a shield a little bit, especially when you go invisible, because if you pop your invisibility and you move backwards, you can actually block a lot of the attacks with your Loki clone. While you're in this invisible state, by the way, you will also start regenerating health, meaning that if you are low on health and you need to back up, it is always smart just to go into your invisibility form, especially if there's no medpacks nearby or the other healer isn't helping you. If just going invisible is still not enough to help you get out of a certain situation, you can always teleport towards a clone that you look at. If you just press this button, you will teleport towards a random clone around you, most likely the closest one. However, if you straight up look at a certain clone, you will be able to teleport straight to them. The clone that you just would have teleported to will also teleport towards the area that you were just at, meaning that if you're in the middle of combat, they will most likely die pretty quickly. And if all else fails, you can always use Regeneration Domain. This will pop on you and all your Loki clones a regenerative field that will heal you and allies, but at the same time it will also make sure that you don't take any damage from enemies. Any damage that enemies do against you will be converted into healing. This ability is extremely powerful, meaning that you can actually use it against certain ultimates. For example, if Psylocke would use her ultimate on you and you put one of these fields on you and your allies, no one will die. These regeneration fields can definitely be destroyed if they shoot the rock that's floating above you. However, for example, if an Iron Man shoots you with his ultimate ability, they will destroy the rock and they will not kill you, meaning that it's still worth using if you're in one of those situations. A tactic I like to use with this ability is popping a clone in the middle of the fight where my teammates are and then immediately pressing my shift, allowing them to get healed instantly and not take any proper damage for a short period of time. This ability actually lasts exactly 5 seconds. And just one quick thing, definitely don't do what this guy does, which is using it just to casually heal someone. You do not want to use this unless you need to, in mid-combat or if someone's trying to jump you. I would also highly recommend using this ability just before you go into your ultimate, because your ultimate will take a little while and by that little time you will most likely have your regeneration field almost back or already back, depending on which hero you copy. Speaking of that, let's go on to his ultimate ability. His ultimate ability allows him to copy anyone he sees on the battlefield, including his teammates. Now, this is definitely one of the hardest ultimates to use in the game, because one, you need to make sure you get the right person. I've done it already plenty of times where I accidentally get the wrong person and also have to make it work. Or two, well, you need to learn every single ability in the game. And that especially goes for everyone's ultimate, because when you copy someone, you will also immediately get their ultimate. Now, I preferably like copying people, for example, like Star-Lord, who has a guaranteed hit on certain characters, or Storm, where she can go into the back line and just absolutely demolish everyone. If you wait for a while after copying someone to use their ultimate, you can actually extend the period of time that you are playing as that character. Meaning that if you're playing someone like the Hulk, you can get almost an extra 15 seconds of playing as the Hulk. So it's not always smart to pop the ultimate straight away. However, sometimes I will do this just because of the fact that it's better just to get it over and done with, so people don't expect it straight away. However, if you're trying to stall out for as long as you can and you want to play a tank character, for example, it is better to use your ultimate later on. Or if you are playing, let's say, Mantis all of a sudden, and you want to stall out the point a little longer, you can start healing your allies a bit more, and then afterwards you can actually use your ultimate to extend that period as well. Any ability like a damage boost that you put on your team members or yourself will disappear as soon as you go back into your normal form as Loki. Alright, that was a little longer than I was expecting, however I do think it's important to go over them properly. Anyway, let's get on to some of the gameplay and how to play them in the game. One of the main things you will have as Loki is that people will always try to dive you to get rid of your heals. I would recommend splitting out your clones a little bit in good line of sight of the payload or the point, so you can always teleport over there but still deal consistent damage and healing. Especially if they have someone like a Spider-Man diving your backline constantly. Now Loki is absolutely amazing when it comes to countering a character like Spider-Man or anyone else who is trying to dive your backline. When someone does dive you, I would usually recommend retreating instead of fighting. However, if you do want to fight, you can always use your shift ability to give yourself a massive upper hand, meaning that you will not die for those 5 seconds. But I'm also going to be honest, I prefer to use this on my allies, allowing them to survive fights that they really should not have won. That definitely doesn't mean that you shouldn't fight people who are trying to dive you. For example, if there's a Spider-Man and they're really low in health already, I am definitely going to try fight that Spider-Man quickly to try get a quick pick. If you're not fighting a character that's flying, or basically Spider-Man who's in the air most of the time anyway, you always want to try aim at someone's feet. Now I know this might sound a little bit weird, however it's a lot better because your clones will fire towards where you're firing, which means that if you're firing at the ground, they will deal splash damage to the enemy that you are fighting, and at the same time you will deal some splash damage as well. Now you're probably thinking direct damage is better, however if you are going to be missing a lot of your shots, you will be wasting a lot of damage, and you will deal a lot more damage with your clones than without your clones. But your priority shouldn't be to get kills, your priority should be to back up your team as much as possible, meaning that you are enabling them to help them get into the fight and stay in the fight as long as they can. Now Loki's splash damage actually deals quite a decent amount of damage, and at the same time it will also deal quite a bit of healing. So it's actually better to always put your clones up high, meaning that they will most likely hit the floor when you are trying to shoot at your enemies or allies. If you are fighting for a point and you notice that your tanks are losing a lot of health really quickly, one of the best things to do is to pop all your clones on point and then use your regeneration domain. This will allow you to heal all your allies in the area and at the same time make sure nobody dies, because they are immortal when they're in this field. Do watch out though, because those crystals can be destroyed above them. The regeneration domain is extremely good against a lot of ultimates as well. For example, Star-Lord's ultimate can't do much against it, Psylocke's ultimate can't do much against it, Scarlet Witch's ultimate can hardly do anything against it as well. There's a lot of them out there who can't do much against the regeneration domain. However, it doesn't work against every ultimate. For example, Storm can just immediately damage through it straight away with her ultimate, and Magik as well. She will be able just to slap straight through it and deal so much damage that, well, you can't do much against it. It does slightly counter Hela's ultimate a little bit as well. You will be able to survive one extra hit from Hela without taking any damage. Oh, and also a little fun fact, if you ever want to dodge a Psylocke ultimate, you can just turn invisible and Psylocke can't hit you while you're invisible. Loki's ultimate is definitely one of the best in the game, however it's also one of the hardest to use in the game, because you need to know exactly who you are copying and how to use their abilities. And you also need to make sure that you are choosing the right character for the job at the time. Because if you need a tank and you all of a sudden accidentally went a DPS, you are out of luck because you are stuck with this character for a little while. However, most of the time I think going with a DPS is probably one of the smartest moves, especially if you're getting their ultimate. Like if you are playing all of a sudden as Psylocke, you can easily use her ultimate to wipe half the team and then your team can easily win the rest of the fight. However, if you are needing some extra support, you can always copy like a Luna Snow or a Mantis and then your team can survive a little longer. Or if you really need to try stall out the point, you can always choose one of the tanks like Magneto or the Hulk for example. With the Hulk you can actually play as the Hulk for quite a long time, because if you time his ultimate towards the end, you can actually extend it by another 12 seconds. But that's some of the basic stuff on Loki, the God of Mischief. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, well, why not stick around, because I'll be making a couple more guides like this, and well, I'll catch you guys all later. Bye!